never a doubt. First of all, I said this pregame. You know, that Boston College team, I know they're in a tough spot record-wise. They've lost a lot of games in a row. Just the fact that they're still fighting and playing the way they're playing is impressive. It's really hard, as I know firsthand, to go on losing streaks and try to claw your way out of it. And they're doing everything they can to claw their way out of the position they're in. And you saw that tonight. Before I make comments on the game, I want to talk about one thing. We got a guy on our staff, a graduate assistant named Jabril Durham. So Jabril just finished up, I think, a 9-year, maybe 10-year pro career. He's got 2 little babies at home. He had a newborn right when he moved here. Wanted to transition into coaching, and he had a prior relationship with a few people on our staff, and we like our graduate assistants to be former players because they just see the game, they know the game. And the partnership is we'll teach you how to coach. Obviously, you got to go to grad school, and you help our players in any way possible. You show up late, you get there early. If they need a rebounder, you're coming to rebound. That can be challenging. I wasn't a graduate assistant, but from firsthand experience, starting as an intern, especially being married. I didn't have kids at the time, but my wife got pregnant my intern year. Jabril's married with kids and doing what most people do at 22, 23 years old. And the reason I bring him up, he's going to be a heck of a coach someday. I think he's got head coach written all over him if he keeps working the way he is. But he came early, stayed late. He does this every day anyways. But specifically with AJ Swinton. AJ had a rough night the other night. Obviously, you know, you guys all saw it, went over 6 or over 7. Couldn't make an open shot. And against Virginia, we couldn't score the last 10, 11 minutes. And Jabril, it not only pulled him aside, but it poured into him of like, AJ, you're a good shooter. Your numbers say it. We've all seen it. But now they poured into him. He stayed late and worked with him. And then in the biggest moment tonight, AJ hits a wide open shot just like he had against Virginia. And to me, that work translated into results. But it's really hard for guys like Jabril to get into coaching first and foremost, and then have the humility to have a wife and kids at home making no money. You know, I'm sure he saved up some money from playing professionally, but that's a tough spot to be in. And to show up with an attitude of I will do whatever it takes to get in this business says a lot about not only him but all those guys in that spot. And so I just wanted to highlight him for a little bit and give him some kudos. You know, talking about the game. These games, first of all, every ACC game is tough. These games are especially tough coming off a big emotional road win. And then you're sandwiching this game with another huge game at Clemson. And it's human nature not only to feel good about a good road win, but then to start looking ahead. And we addressed it yesterday in practice, we addressed it this morning in shoot-around, we addressed it pregame, probably addressed it too much. I may have planted a seed in their head because we came out sleepwalking, and we got what we deserved. They were on both ends of the floor, outworking us, outplaying us, moving the ball better, getting better shots, creating better shots. We weren't. Our closeouts were poor, our contests were poor, our rotations were poor, our rebounding was poor. Across the board, we were literally sleepwalking. 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, we lose this game by 15, 20, 25. And that to me is a big testament to the character in our locker room that. And I saw it in real time in the game. Every time I walked in the huddle, 5 weeks ago, it would have been silent, and they're waiting for me to address them. Every time I walked in the huddle tonight, they were saying the message I was about to give them. And so it was great. I could just repeat what most of which they were already saying in terms of, guys, we got some more intensity. We got to contain the ball. We have to rotate better. We have to contest shots. They're making wide open shots. Don't worry about our offense. It's all the messaging, to me, is getting through to them, to where now they have ownership of this team. And that's where you see gritty performances like tonight, where, like I said, 5 weeks ago we would have lost that game, and probably by double digits. And tonight, just a credit to our locker room and to our guys to care about the little things that go into winning and finish that game in a nice way.
Chris? Rob obviously put up 27. Just talk about how he handled it down the stretch and making a big basket at the end there.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys step up in a lot of different ways. I talked about AJ, Thomas Basong, Alex Steen. I thought was incredible on both ends. He gave us energy when we didn't have it with his rebounding. Lejay, a near double again. But Rob, that to me, I'm not super impressed. That's what I expect out of Rob. That's to me, Rob's one of the only guys that, and we got a lot of good players, but the only guy that can really put a team on his back in those moments and carry a team. And that's no disrespect to anyone on our roster, but Rob has done this now for 2 years with Jacksonville. He's willed Jacksonville went up to Virginia Tech and beat them because Rob McCray willed them to a victory. Like 2 years ago in the ASUN tournament, he almost averaged 30 a game over 3 games. Like he's done this. Now, not quite at this level, but it's a big reason why I continue to trust Rob, even in the toughest of moments. You know, the Wake Forest game, there's been a couple of really low moments for Rob, but Rob has a different gear that he can put a team on his back. And tonight, you saw it in the second half when it got thick, and the game, everyone in the gym could feel it. Like there was an anxiety in the gym, like we cannot lose this game. Rob just went to work, and to me, it wasn't just a scoring. He made good play after good play. You could tell at times when he was fatigued, where in the past those plays might have resulted in turnovers, he got off it for a possession and let someone else do their job, or he called it set. That to me is a sign of growth because, again, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, Rob was just out there hooping, and now he's starting to really feel and think the game, and in the biggest moments, he's going to go into attack mode.
Kurt, you talked about it a little in your opening statement. I know you how competitive you are. 500 wasn't the goal year one, but how much are you able to, from where you were, like you said, 5 weeks ago, whatever the timeline is, to now, to reflect on the improvement, the progress this team has made?
Yeah, I think it's more. I'm certainly not satisfied with being 500, and really, this sounds bad. I don't care what our record is. I care about the process of improving every day, and I think over the past several weeks we have consistently improved, and we still made mistakes. We've given away some games that, God, I wish we could have back. But I think all of you guys can see and feel the improvement, not just week to week, but game to game, and that to me is what's satisfying as a coach. But also we show up and we're not satisfied. Now today was a little different story. I think we were a little hungover from that Virginia Tech win, but we have to turn down the dial of quote unquote human nature. You ride this big wave of feeling great when things are going well and feeling terrible. It's like rainbows and funerals. Like and I think we've done a good job staying right in the middle, and that's what good teams do. That's what teams that eventually win championships do. They don't ride the emotional wave of the highs and lows. They show up every day with a hard hat on, with the idea of like, guys, we could still get way better than what we're playing right now. And that's where, again, I'm not satisfied with where we're at, but I am satisfied with the intention of showing up every day and getting better.
Liam, you mentioned Thomas a little bit in your intro, but from where he was, at the start of the season to what he's grown into now as a consistent starter for you, particularly for you guys in the defensive end, a couple of big blocks tonight. I mean,
yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, Thomas, sometimes I forget that he's still a freshman. Because he's starting, playing big time minutes in the ACC, you guys can see his development in real time, and you can see his mistakes in real time. I mentioned it post game to the team, in my remarks to them. Thomas had 2 really, really tough turnovers in a back-to-back, I think it was back-to-back possessions or 2 out of 3 possession sequence. Again, several weeks ago, that would have crumbled. He cares so much, that would have crumbled his spirit. It happened very similarly at Dayton, and he was borderline unplayable for the rest of the game because it crushed him. He cares so much, and it kills his spirit. We took him out. We talked to him, and I told him, I said, I'm putting you back in, so get your mind right. And get ready to go. And again, to his credit, he came back in and helped us win the game. Had a huge right corner 3, had several defensive rotations where very few guys on the court can move the way he moves with his length and athleticism. That to me shows the most important growth of being able to, again, the highs and lows. Something happens and you just move on. We call it in the locker room next play speed. So it doesn't matter what happened. The best play of your life, the worst play of your life, just move on to the next play because we need all of you guys to win games. And Thomas did a great job of that tonight. And after a tough few sequences, reset, took him out, put him back in, and he was ready to go and help us win the game.
You look at LeJay's line, you see he's 2 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, and yet in the 8 minutes that he's off the court, Florida State's a -10, and it's just like that. I don't know that I would believe that in November, December, right? I mean, he's a +18 without making a 3.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a guy on any of the teams you've been on kind of remake his game so much in the middle of one season?
I would have to think about that in terms of being around players that I'm sure I've seen it. No one's coming to my mind right now, but I am again really pleased with his shift, and to me it's more mental and more emotional because he's always had the combination, he and Chauncey, the combination of size and skill, but they have to play with a high motor. And I don't know how many times I've said this with a mic in front. If those two play well, we will win most games. If I get 1 out of 2, we're going to be in most games. If I get 0 out of 2, we will lose every game. Because they have a combination of size and skill that's very tough for opponents to match up with. But also when they're missing, it's like our spine is missing. And LeJay, to your point, earlier in the season, he was so focused on making shots that the rest of his game was basically non-existent. And now all he focuses on is the rest of his game: defending, rebounding, rotating, flying down the court in transition on both sides of the ball. If he goes 0 for 3 from 3, if he goes 6 for 7, he still has a huge impact on winning. And that's what he's figured out in a really good way, is like, I just got to show up and be myself and be aggressive and let the chips fall where they may. And you guys can see it and you can feel it. His impact on winning is huge. And that's why he's going to leave here and make a ton of money playing professional basketball. He and Chauncey, when they play with that level of aggressiveness. And that's why, to me, down the stretch, both those guys started showing up in a good way. I thought Chauncey had a terrible first 30 minutes. Even though he's 2 for 5 from 3, you couldn't feel him. And again, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just our staff. His teammates who were pulling him aside, like, Chauncey, we need you. To his credit, he showed up down the stretch in some huge pivotal moments, hit that pick and pop 3, rebounded, switched, kept the ball in front of him. That helps you win close games.
Corey, does this win, obviously, whatever, you're 17-23 in the second half against Virginia Tech. To play as poorly, no offense, but to play as poorly as you guys
None
did
taken.
for 30
I would agree with
minutes, to then find a way to win. Is this almost a better win than what you had on Saturday for what it means for this team that's kind of showcasing its will to win even when it doesn't play well?
Yeah, I've never thought about it in terms of like judging good wins and bad. I think all wins are great, especially in the ACC, especially as a first-time head coach, and I'm still learning a ton. I'm not too proud to say that I'm going to continue to learn and grow, as I hope our team will. But in terms of, what's a better win, a comeback win or a win you lead the whole game, I'll take them both every day of the week. But I do think that coming back when you're playing terrible and finding a way to grind it out, to me shows, again, the character that I'm looking for as we build this program. We want guys that are not satisfied with just showing up, putting a jersey on, and getting paid money to play basketball. We want to build this program with guys that, first of all, care about the right things on and off the court. We want to build this program with real competitors, and when I say competitors, I mean in the toughest of moments where life's kicking you and nothing is perfect. I need you to show up and fight. And that to me is why you enjoy a win like tonight. As poorly as we played, I thought we showed some real character down the stretch of not giving in to what a lot of teams in our position, a below 500 team, would give into. Like, we just don't got it tonight. Let's roll on to Clemson and try to get them. Like, no, we still got time. Let's fight. And I thought our guys showed up and fought. And I'll take this every day of the week. I think the best wins are the wins that you can still learn a lot from. And I think we got tomorrow off, but coming back in here Thursday, we're not going to take it lightly on them just because we won the game. There's so much that we got to learn and correct before going into Clemson and battling with those guys.
Kurt, speaking of Clemson, I'm not going to ask specifics. I know I'm sure the scouts
Yeah.
are just getting started. What do you think it is? I think you can make a case that the team's played consistently better on the road recently than at home. I think won 3 or 4. What do you think has gone into that, being able to find that on the road?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. That's a good point. I'm gonna bring that up to the team. Maybe we got too many distractions around here.
When you guys are struggling a little bit, the way Steen gets fouled, like it seems like, and then he can knock down some free throws, and then like
Yeah.
how just the physicality, the way he puts his body in the line. I mean, he's getting hammered every time he goes inside. But you guys keep going to him. Just how important has he been?
Yeah, again, I don't want to keep giving our coaches credit for our players' performances, but again, I'll shout out Chris Kent. He runs all of our player development. It was his scout tonight, but he's been not only the players he works with, but organizing a lot of very specific development for each guy. And Steen, earlier in the season, could not make a free throw. You just call it what it is. He was in the low 60s most games. If he was above 500 from the line, it was like, oh, Steen shot over 500 from the line. Look at that. And so, just like his game, it looks like he just wills the ball into the basket. Like there's no, it reminds me of Ryan Reed, rest in peace, but it's no arc, and physics-wise, it does not make sense why the ball goes in. It is a line drive at the front of the rim. But I say this because he's been working. He's been working on his free throw, and that to me, I love when guys have weaknesses and they get in the gym and work at them. He's been working out his arc on his free throws, and you see it tonight. He went 6 to 7, and I didn't even realize he went 6 to 7 until after the game. But I'm starting to have faith when he goes to the line. Like, oh, Steen's going to the line, we're good. But it's a testament to not only our staff but the players showing up and working on their weaknesses, so that in the biggest moments you can count on them. And to me, Steen represents that wholeheartedly. He shows up every day, almost like the dog and Up, with just a great attitude and just a fearlessness and excitement to approach the day with full energy and enthusiasm. And I love being around guys like that.
You mentioned your staff a lot when we talked to you after practice, when we talked to you games here. You also mentioned that you're still learning as a head coach. You've given them credit for helping some development-wise with the players. How have they helped you, especially in this stretch in the last month or so? You guys have won 6 in the last 8.
Yeah, to me, I hired these guys because I think not just a few. I think we have a handful of guys that can be head coaches. Some of which, 3 of which have already been head coaches. 3 of which I would not want to coach against, and I don't say that lightly. I don't mind admitting I'm certainly not the smartest guy in our coaching staff, and I learn from those guys every day, and that's why I built the staff the way I built it. I have a lot of respect for all the guys on our staff because they show up and work hard first and foremost, but they're intelligent, and if you mix those two in terms of showing up with a great attitude and working hard, and you're bright. To me, I benefit because I walk in a coach's room and they're talking about ideas that I haven't even thought of, and sometimes I feel dumb. I'm like, man, I should have thought of that. But to me, it's a good and a bad thing because we're going to look back in a few years and we're going to have 3, 4, 5 guys that within the next 5 years are all head coaches around the country, and that to me has been the biggest help because it 2 parts. Number one, people aren't afraid in our coaches meetings to have confrontation. And when they don't have it, I'll create it because I love a little confrontation. I love people disagreeing with each other adamantly, but everyone walking out of the room with a united idea of like, okay, we got to get this message to the players. Behind closed doors, we argue about everything under the moon, sometimes basketball, sometimes not, in a healthy way. We're not afraid to disagree with each other, number one. But number two, we have a lot of different experiences. We've had a G League head coach who's been offense coordinator in the NBA, defense coordinator in the NBA. We have 2 former college head coaches. We have guys that are just starting out. So everyone has a different perspective. And to me, if you're not hungry and curious to learn, you're failing as a leader of a program. and I walk in every day amazed at how much I learn every day from just being around these guys. And that to me is a sign of a really good staff. Staff that works hard, that's connected and together, but doesn't mind disagreeing with each other daily, almost constantly, as Kelly's laughing in the background, because she's in the middle of a lot of it as a mediator of like, all right, guys, we need to settle down and refocus. But some of our disagreements are real, and to me, there's multiple ways to do things, but the only way you get to the right way for each team is to argue with each other. And I think our staff has done a really good job in a healthy way doing that.
And Matt?
You sat there about 4 weeks ago and said that the goal for the team was to make the ACC tournament because we're not going to allow that to miss in your first season. Has the last 5 weeks or 4 weeks changed that goal in your mind?
Yeah, it's again in a human nature way. We had a staff member, and you guys probably are all thinking the same thing. I think the same thing. I just don't like to admit it. Like, well, if we win out and if we win a couple games in the ACC, could we get in the NCAA tournament? It's not impossible. And I'm like, yeah, guys, if we won the next 100 games, we would win multiple national titles and I'd probably be a Hall of Fame coach. But let's focus on today. And that
More
again
like
is
a buy, maybe a buy in case it's tournament.
yeah, no, and we pulled this up, and again, it's human nature. We pulled it up and went through all the scenarios of who we're playing. I don't really like believing in likelihoods because it's like, yeah, if you believe in likelihoods, we got no chance of beating Clemson, right? But we went through those scenarios of like, okay, at what point do you get a bye? How many games do we feel like, if you map it out, who's playing who's going where, our opponents who we're fighting against for those seeding positions. The more you start diving into that, to me, the more you miss the point of what we're trying to do. Again, of just showing up and beating Boston College, showing up to practice and trying to get better. All those things will take care of themselves. We get a bye, great. I'm glad that we're steadily approaching, okay, we're going to be in the ACC tournament. That'll be a complete embarrassment if we can't make it. But we got to show up and compete every day. And all of those things, to me, will start checking themselves off the closer we get.
Any more questions for Coach?
Sorry, it's so long-winded. Thank you, guys.